I check my boobs.
Yeah, good idea. Check my hair. I can't see myself.
Welcome to the Daily Pulse. It is Monday, October 13th, Columbus Day. Do not adjust your set. Yes, Jerry Nutter is sitting in the WellPoint studio, taking over for Ted Panos, who this week becomes our international correspondent. The Inside Lowell podcast is coming to you, as I said, from the WellPoint studios. WellPoint, the only health plan offering health care benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point, and they are a great insurance company to have. I can speak for that firsthand. As I mentioned, we have the Killer Bees in studio with us, but before we talk to Jo Marie Buckley and to our friend Leslie Boder, our international correspondent this week, coming to us from Toronto, Canada, is the man, the myth, the legend himself. Good morning, Ted Panos.
Good morning, Jerry, and I can hear Jo Marie and Leslie's voices in the background there. Good morning to all of you as well. Hey, Jared, it just struck me. You actually replaced me once before in a big seat. You want to do that again on the Daily Pulse?
No. I'd make a crack about the pay being almost the same, Ted, but I'll.
I think you were one of the few that got paid more at CAP.
That's probably true.
So how are you? Thank you for coming into downtown on a Monday and for filling in for me all this week, so I can head up here in Toronto and have a little fun and frolic for a few days and find out what Frontrunner cities are really all about.
So I made the mistake of saying to Teddy, when he mentioned that he was going to be up here, I said, well, if you need some help, which turned into a phone call a week ago saying, remember you said you're interested in help? Can you get guests every day?
Nice.
And it was Monday through Thursday, and then it was, no, do Friday too, as long as you're here. So, yeah. So why are you up in Toronto this week, my friend?
Well, Jerry, I'm here technically I'm in Richmond Hill, a little suburb, about a half hour north of Toronto, if I have my directions correct. But this is where the Urban Economy Forum, UEF7, is taking place. If you remember last September, that's where Lowell Mayor Danny Rourke was invited because of some magazine, Capital Analytics article, and he was invited to the Urban Economy Forum, and he kind of started some conversations there that have led to this whole Lowell as the first frontrunner city designation in the entire United States of America. Richmond Hill, which is where I'm staying, is actually the first frontrunner city in Canada, and it was officially declared that in 2024. So I'm up here. Lowell is a huge part of this year's Urban Economy Forum. It's not just the mayor. City Manager Golden is flying up here, I believe, after Tuesday's meeting, so he's part of a panel. We've got a bunch of other folks as well that are part of it all. And Wednesday is going to really be the day that Lowell is going to be showcased and leading a lot of the discussions about urban development and housing and innovation and all this other stuff. So I figured, what the heck, it's a big deal for the city. When you're talking about investing $5 billion plus in our community, I think there should at least be one media entity up here. So plus I got to escape a couple of days early with the missus and have a little anniversary getaway a week or two late, but she's forgiven me.
Well, that's good. That's a good reason to stay. Go early and stay a day or two late too.
Yeah, they're all coming in Tuesday. The convention doesn't start until Tuesday and runs through half of the day Thursday. But we're gonna bounce around today a little bit, try to head into Toronto itself. I want to check out this Regent Park area that they keep talking about, and then also see the part of Richmond Hill that has been renovated. So I'll be posting some photos throughout the course of the week from here on our social media and our website, and of course I'll be calling in with you tomorrow and Wednesday as well to give some folks a little bit of a flavor of what's been going on here. With any luck, I'll be able to corral somebody from the city of Lowell to come on up on camera with me for a few minutes.
Well, I told the mayor he needs to stop by, so hopefully he'll take you up on that.
Yeah, he does his best to try to avoid me. You know what's interesting? I started doing some searching.
I'm not sure you want to say, hey, do you want to come to my hotel room to be on a podcast, Eddie?
Yeah. This is his last fundraiser, by the way.
the next podcast, I'll be doing them from the Richmond Hill Performing Arts Center, which is where the
That might be
convention is actually taking place. For this one, I'm laying in the hotel station. You see the beautiful artwork behind me here of Canada. But, so I got some fun facts for you guys for Richmond Hill, which is interestingly enough an awful lot like Lowell in some capacities, completely different in others. So it's 23 miles from Toronto, as I kind of mentioned. It's a little bit north of Toronto, kind of like Boston. Lowell is what, 30 miles north of Boston, give or take, a mile or two.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of Canada's fastest growing municipalities. It has a population of about 202,000 as of the 2021 census. So it's bigger than Lowell, a little bit less than twice the size. But check out this, because you can see Lowellians and pretty much anybody else in our communities freaking out over this kind of growth. So Richmond Hill was originally incorporated as a village in 1872. It became a town in 1957 before they became adults and adopted the city moniker in 2019. All right, so it's pretty new as a city, and they tout the fact that they did it because they want people to understand how great of a place it is and how much opportunity there is and how many things there are to do. But so this is the number that was staggering to me, though. In 1971, when it was still a town, its population was just over 33,000 people. So think Drake it, right, for one of the communities around there. In 1982, it was still around 38,000 people. And then in the ensuing 40 years now, it absolutely exploded. By 1996, it had more than doubled to over 100,000. It exceeded 200,000 residents in 2014. So think about that. From 82 to 2014, we're talking 32 years, 3 decades there? Population went from 38,000 to 200,000. Massive, massive growth.
Wow. What sparked all that growth?
Well, so the first thing I noticed coming in, and we flew in late at night last night, but there's just a ton of land and a ton of space. I didn't look at the square mileage of the city, but I would imagine it's so much larger than Lowell and a little bit more modern. So they were able to kind of build out roads and grids, much like the newer American cities, as opposed to most of these New England cities and towns, which basically took dirt, horse and buggy paths and turned them into streets and tried to kind of fill in the landscape around them. But so the average household income here is $134,000, which made me do a double take until I realized it was Canadian dollars. It translates to about $95,500 in American dollars, which is about Lowell's average household income as well, $97,000. But check this out. Over 50%, I think 56% of their housing stock is individual single-family dwelling units. But the average value of a dwelling unit here in Richmond Hill is $1.344 million, aka 959,000 American dollars. That's the average price of a house here, a dwelling unit. So it's a very affluent community. Their leading industries today, actually early in the 20th century, it was known as the rose capital of Canada because they built a bunch of giant greenhouses and were able to grow roses by the tons. So it became known as the rose capital of Canada. But today, it's a really modern city. And, kind of stop me if you've heard this before, right? Their leading industries are professional, scientific, and technical services, including microelectronics, IT, environmental services, a lot of health, finance, and insurance, information and culture are huge industries here as well. And other significant sectors, we're told, include manufacturing with areas like robotics and automation and logistics. In other words, what UMass Lowell is basically building in our community and what we see coming in with, the Draper Labs and all these other companies that are coming. And I dare I say the dreaded Markley Group name and whatnot. But I can see now why the people in Toronto and at the Urban Economic Forum and whatnot, when they heard Mayor Rourke talking about Lowell and all it has to offer, why they said, that sounds familiar. And hence here we are 1 year later, Lowell being the first frontrunner city in America, along with Richmond Hill, the first frontrunner city in Canada.
What were you? Did you have a question? You can't see Boder, but her arms were moving, and she's trying to get me to say something like I can read lips.
No, I was just wondering what population came rushing up. Were it fellow Canadians coming for a job opportunity, or was it immigration?
No, it was a lot of both, Leslie. And again, similar to what you kind of saw in Lowell and much of the United States of America. So Toronto being the hub nearby, this was kind of a pass-through town where farmers would come up, hence the rose capital and the greenhouses and the agriculture, and they would make their way to Toronto, but also parts north up here in Ontario. But it has a very huge immigrant population. And I actually looked at some of those demographics. So Asian, 27% of Richmond Hill's population today is Asian, but it is mostly Chinese, where Lowell kind of has the Southeast Asian, Cambodian, Vietnam, etc. Right here, very much Chinese. It was one of the first things I noticed on the flight from Logan coming up here and then in the airport and whatnot. A very, very sizable Asian population. Chinese, as it's listed online, but they've got about 10% of Richmond Hill is Iranian, which is, it surprised me at first, but then I'm thinking a lot of these individuals, the names that I've heard with the Frontrunner City and the Urban Economy Forum, they also are of Iranian/Persian descent, people who kind of escaped when the Ayatollahs came in the late 70s, early 80s, and then headed out here to Canada. And in an ode to Columbus Day and our buddy Mike Bacigalupo, 8% of Richmond Hill is Italian.
Nice.
All right.
So a large immigrant population.
Well, that was very informative. Thank you very much.
I'm all about the information, Leslie.
I know you're not kidding. I knew you'd know that answer.
You mentioned that aside from city officials, there's some other Lowell individuals who are going to be speaking this week.
Yeah, so before I get going here, because I think my wife wants to eat breakfast and she's going to kill me if I keep going on, I'll tell you a little bit. Today, we're just going to bounce around, check out the area, as I mentioned. Tomorrow, the forum kicks off. A limited Lowell presence. I think that's because we have this thing called the city council meeting, so they all kind of have to be there between the manager and his team. But Mayor Rourke, I understand, is flying up here today. So he and Richmond Hill Mayor David West are actually going to co-moderate a couple of panels during the day tomorrow. And then one of those groups is also going to be Mark Keeley, who's a big player in this Frontrunner City thing, and he's kind of been the go-between for Mayor Rourke and Manager Golden with the UN people here. He's going to be on a panel on Tuesday. Of course, he's the guy we had on a Daily Pulse podcast. Wednesday is what I've dubbed Lowell Day. So you're going to have there's an entire panel dedicated specifically to Lowell and its frontrunner city designation. Mayor Rourke, Manager Golden, City Councilor Corey Robinson is actually going to make a presentation. Catherine Moses, the Sustainability Director. Camilo Espida is from the Department of Planning and Development is going to be here. I also saw something online where they said Connor Baldwin would be here as well, but I didn't see him on the agenda. Steve Panagiotakis, former state senator, proud fellow Helene of mine. He's going to be speaking at a session on building municipal housing capacity. And the keynote speaker of that session is none other than a Lowell native, Patrick Ty. He's the architect who's doing that Boys and Girls Club redesign, but he's got an amazing architectural firm that's done projects throughout the country, California and everywhere else, and a lot of groundbreaking stuff. So groundbreaking that he's going to be the keynote speaker at that panel.
One more thing, he made Architectural Digest. That's how good he is.
Yeah, I did not realize any of that until I saw the name, and I'm thinking,
Patty's brother.
Yeah, Marty Ty's brother, very well known Thai family. His firm is also, I think, his firm and Marty Ty are redoing that property on Merrimack Street. There's a new property. They just got a bunch of money from the state to convert it to housing, but it's also going to be the future home of Sophia's Greek Pantry, which is currently on Market Street. They're going to move to a brand new expanded digs on Merrimack Street, and that I believe is Patrick Ty's architectural project as well.
Wow.
So it's going to be very well represented by Lowell. And we know that you'll be all over this, and you're going to join us for the next 2 days, kick off the Daily Pulse, and then you get to go out and take in all these activities.
Enjoy your
Yeah,
cards.
I definitely will. I forgot to mention that Wednesday night they close out that day's session with something they're calling the Frontrunner Gala. They don't know this yet, but I'm crashing.
And I hope you're bringing your wife, too.
Yeah, I told her to pack something nice along, so she's going to crash
that's
it
her
with
alone. She didn't need to pack.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, Boner, good. You're such a kiss ass, Boner.
I pack my attitude, Teddy. You know me.
But anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate all of you coming on in. Jerry, especially you, but everybody else who's coming in to sit in with him and keeping the Daily Pulse going. And we may be a little late a couple of days in getting it posted. It might be a little bit afternoon, but we'll try to get it as close to the regular schedule, as close to noon as possible for everybody out there. And you'll learn a lot about what's happening back there in Lowell with Jerry and all his guests. And hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about the Frontrunner City stuff and Lowell's future up here from Richmond Hill and Toronto.
All right. Have fun up there, Ted.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
Have fun. Don't get in trouble.
Don't get in trouble. How
Well,
are you
get
not
into
gonna
good
get in
trouble, I guess.
You guys are the featured there.
Who's going?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, you're on. You guys are on. Let's see if I see him playing with all the buttons. There we go.
Oh.
Hi. How we doing? Jill Murray Buckley and Leslie Boder, also known as the Killer Bees.
How come Panos got a fuzzy screen and we didn't? You know how they used to.
Yeah. Sorry, I just.
No filter.
I'm just playing with
It is.
I'm still learning playing with the
No
buttons
filter.
here.
We're okay.
Yeah.
How are you guys?
Living the best life we have, right?
Well, we're here.
Right.
Monsoon Monday, I'd like to thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, the rain kind of slowed down.
It did.
You know,
It did.
enough to get up here.
It did.
I thought about that and saying, oh, it's going to pour and she's going to walk up. So.
No, I drove from Chelmsford today because you know my rules.
Oh, that's true.
Sometimes I sleep in another town.
There you go.
And so I drove over today.
Oh, okay.
Parked it. Oh, speaking of, do I need to pay my meter?
You know, I'm hoping not because
Okay, 'cause I didn't either.
I didn't park in.
I paid mine.
It's Columbus Day.
I know, but I paid it just to be on the safe side.
Well, the city appreciates that. I
No
figured we were
problem.
downtown. It's a holiday, so
I'm at a meter,
And-
but
and
I didn't.
I made a $4 donation to the city of Lowell
this
today.
is, you know, this is what happens when you reach a certain age, right?
You get a little
You
salty?
know? No, you get a little forgetful.
Oh,
So
no.
my wife laughs at me because I leave the house in the morning, and at least 2 or 3 days a week I run back in because I forgot my phone.
Oh, I was going to
forgot
say,
my
she wasn't
coffee.
laughing because she was celebrating.
Today,
He walks back in and she's like mid-dance.
She's already making a martini.
Right? Oh, damn it.
Today I got all the way downtown. I'm ready to pull into the parking garage, and I realize I don't have my glasses, which I can't read any of the buttons on this computer
Yikes.
that he has me to push to get up. So I have to drive.
We're just going to keep it at the 2-shot.
Yeah, but I made it. I will say this:
Joe.
since there's no traffic today, I went over to Sunnyvale and back in 8 minutes.
Oh, my
Are
God.
those new readers?
Yeah. No, these are.
You went and picked them up?
prescription.
Okay.
Yeah, these are prescriptions.
gonna
because
say.
I'm blind. I usually keep cheaters around.
Yeah.
You know, but I haven't left them here yet because this is only.
Well,
the
it sounds
second,
like you're
only the
earning
second time.
you're earning a drawer in the dresser here this week. It sounds like you should
I
tell
got the
Teddy
keys to the
you
place,
want you
so-
want your own space going
Weren't you
forward.
recently talking to a divorcee? Isn't it funny? They're
Would
cheaters.
you
Wait, what? I feel like I'm missing this conversation completely.
No, Boder is getting me in trouble when
Tell
I'm
me.
already in enough trouble. We'll tell you off air. That's
I
another
can't
different
wait.
story.
Put a pin in it. I'm not leaving till I hear the story.
I will get her for that, folks. I will get her for that. Before we continue, though, get rid of her for a minute.
Never.
I get the buttons.
We got the mics.
I just want to say, the Daily Pulse is brought to you by our buddy Real Estate Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home or business or a commercial property, Ray Booten is the one to contact. Find them online at realestaterayBooten.com. realestaterayburton.com. That's realestaterayburton.com. And as I mentioned before, by WellPoint, the only health plan offering health care benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. As Teddy says, we have some other sponsors that we'll say thank you to before the end of the day. I'm just getting used to doing this. And all right, so now we're going to go back to the gang here.
There we go.
And
Two-shot
Jill
again.
Murray Buckley.
Oh.
Now I'm just going to put you guys up.
Look out.
They're sick of seeing me, and I want to take a sip of my coffee.
There you go.
Jill Murray Buckley,
Yes, sir.
Tewksbury.
Yes.
The town meeting just got over last week.
50 minutes. It was less than an hour.
Nothing.
So, I mean, I would think the two things, the one thing that people actually got up and spoke about was the North School lease, allowing the select board to enter into leases. There's kind of I wouldn't even call it a controversy, but kind of the hot button topic has been that the Trahan School and the North School are vacant. And they had all these surveys about what the town wanted to see. And then basically those surveys are ignored and they're doing what they want to do. So the Trahan is going to be senior housing. Not affordable senior housing, just senior housing. And the North School, they're now going to put the request for bids out there to see if anyone's interested in that school.
In a 99-year lease.
In a 99-year lease that the select board gets to enter on behalf of the town.
And a motion to extend that to 100 and something.
No, it was 30 years extended to 99 because of the way the statutes are, that it allows them basically to enter a long-term lease with a tenant. So the rumor is, and this was the same rumor that they had for the North School, was that there's a hockey academy interested, but we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if that's also going to be housing.
Hockey Academy would be good.
That would be great,
Bring some
but
business
they
back.
didn't. They kind of disappeared from the Trahan, and now they're back in conversations allegedly, and we'll see. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it turns into housing as well.
Now, speaking of bringing business to Tewksbury, there's a
here we go.
business that wants to come to
Yes.
Tewksbury that sounds like a lot of people in Tewksbury aren't really thrilled about.
Well, so that's an interesting way of putting it, Teddy. I think
No, Jerry.
Sorry. Wow, Teddy. See, you're so interchangeable. If he's watching this later, whoever's in that seat, you're Teddy to
That's
me.
it, you're Teddy.
Sorry, Jerry. So there's a lithium battery storage facility that's trying to come to Tewksbury, and there was just a public hearing on it last week. It is controversial. I do think it's interesting that the voices that we're hearing, and even more interesting, the voices that we're not hearing, weighing in on this project. So the public hearing, I did go to the meeting. I left. They did an intermission at like 8:30. It started at 6:30. They did an intermission at 8:30. I left at 8:30 to go be a parent and live my life again, because the theme was pretty clear. I did watch the rest of it. It was on the YouTube channel, the town's YouTube channel, and I did watch the rest of it. And the common theme is just basically it's going to abut the Emerald Court, which is senior housing.
My
and
mom
there's
used to live there.
yeah, it's a beautiful facility. The
Yeah,
Emerald
very
Court's
nice.
a beautiful area. So there's a lot of concern having a lithium battery storage facility abutting, seniors and dementia care unit and assisted living areas, and only having one way out if there was any type of catastrophe. I think the ultimate concern, and I think having lived through the Wilmington Mayflower rehab issue as on the select board in Wilmington, and having lived through kind of all the discussions about cannabis dispensaries entering town and all the fear mongering around what would happen when that happens.
What about the fight about the casino going out there?
Right.
I remember that one too.
So I think it's the same theme, and I feel frustrated because I don't think the emotional arguments that were 4 hours worth on Wednesday night or Thursday night, whenever the meeting was, are the compelling arguments for the siting board. I think they were expecting to hear kind of all of the horror story projections of, people not being able to get out, people being exposed to chemical exposure if there were to be a fire. Like that wasn't compelling to them. I think actually the most compelling arguments were state rep Dave Robertson and the town manager, who got booed and they were yelling liar at him. But if you actually listen to what he was saying, he was the one saying, siting board, if you're going to consider approving this, if you're going to allow this permit to go forward, these are the things that the town would be expecting would be conditions of that permit, which I think is, at this point, that the horses are out of the barn. The barn door is
This is up
closed.
to the state now,
This
correct?
is completely up to
Right,
the
okay,
state
that's so.
at this point, right? So as much as I appreciate the concerns that people have, I think the reality is they don't realize the way that the process was working and they didn't put the onus on the local officials at the time that would have made sense. So I think at this point, we're going to have to deal with what we have to deal with when the state comes back, when the siting board comes back with their decision. You can write in between now and October 24th. I'm assuming all of the people that spoke are also writing letters in saying what their concerns are. And I think the two major concerns are, we have this project being proposed that there's no safety plan yet proposed, right? And we have this project being proposed that it's right at the decibel limits of the, so basically the people living in Emerald Court would have a clothes dryer running 24/7. And that would be, it's 55 decibels or whatever that is. And it's akin to having your clothes dryer on all day, every day for the whole day. 10 decibels less than I think a lawnmower noise, if my research is correct. So, I understand the frustration of the people living there that this is being considered, but I do think it's noteworthy that we had 3 select board members at this meeting, one sitting pretty, wanted to be seen, but did not want to be heard. And I think that should be noted. I think in 2 select board members, I don't believe were there. And, my frustration is and again, reading the room, not having any personal inside knowledge or conversations with anyone. So I'm putting that out there so that when Teddy gets his angry email from the same guy that likes to come at me for saying things, if the select board, I think, is their mentality is we're going to stay silent. We're going to see what the state does. And then it's either going to be the state doesn't approve it and we can say we were fighting it behind the scenes all along and, because we care about the safety of the Tewksbury residents, or what I think more likely is going to happen is the state's going to approve it. We're going to have to get these safety parameters, which I believe is part of the process. Like, it's not something that Tewksbury would demand and they would do specifically for Tewksbury. I do think that the permitting process requires evacuation plans and safety plans. I think, unfortunately, I don't think the order of operation is the way it should be. I think that should be done before the permit's approved so that the town has the ability to weigh in.
Right.
But I think that the way my understanding is the permit gets approved with conditions, and then this company will present and work with the fire department and work with the town on the evacuation plans and the safety plans. I think at that point it's too late for the town. But I think if it gets approved, then all of a sudden the select board's going to say, yeah, we're going to work diligently to make sure that it's safe and that everybody's okay. And we're going to be getting $2 million a year in revenue. So this is really a win for Tewksbury. So I think they're kind of doing what normal politicians do, staying silent so that they can claim a victory either way, right? What I would suggest, right, if I were anything at all relevant to Tewksbury, I know that the horses are out. I know the barn door is closed. I know that there's nothing we can do. If I were Dave Robertson or Vanna Howard, I would say, listen, we hear you. We hear what you're saying. You just came to the public hearing. Everybody but one Wilmington resident spoke against this project, had the same concerns about safety and about noise. We want to put together a task force. And we want that task force to be a member of the Conservation Committee because this abuts conservation, and I think that's relevant. A member of the fire department, whether it's the chief or a representative, that can start weighing in on the issues of safety concerns. A member from Emerald Court, because that seems to be the biggest abutter from their HOA, whether it's the chair or someone from their HOA. And then a member representing the town. And we're going to sit down and we're going to put together a way that makes this not acceptable. I think at this point, there's no one that's going to say this is a great idea and we're welcoming this into town, but at least a way to make it acceptable so that people will feel safe remaining there. And I think that's the best we're going to be able to do. I do think, again, because I have PTSD from the Mayflower project in Wilmington, that we have now put on public record enough statements. There was a member of the Board of Health that got up and spoke and basically said, no matter what, the Board of Health is never going to approve this. That's a lawsuit, right? Like, I'm just saying it again, as just an individual resident of Tewksbury, there has now been enough put on the record, the whole NIMBY attitude that is going to be used against us should this company decide to sue Tewksbury for trying to obstruct something that has been legally authorized by the state. And that's my concern for us. Is valid. It's going to be more money that we don't have to expend on a lawsuit that we created unknowingly because our leadership has been silent. And I do feel bad I'm going to put this on the record too. I feel awful for John Curran because I think he's the scapegoat of all of this. I think what he read at that public meeting was not just his words. I think that it was crafted words by other people who didn't want to stand in front of the mic. And I think he was the one who took the hit for it, as he continues to seem to do. And I have to say, Not that I think Richard Montori watches this. Not that I think Richard Montori thinks about Tewksbury at all anymore. But I did envision at some point at that public meeting, Richard Montori sitting in a recliner at home in like a smoking jacket, sipping a scotch, maybe smoking a cigar, and just laughing that this is what's happening now that he's no longer the town manager.
Richard Montori.
He was the retired town manager.
Town manager.
Steve Thadwick, super happy.
I was doing the exact same last night. What's the problem?
There you go.
And the assistant town manager, Steve,
is on his way
he's
out.
on his way out
so
too.
he's like quietly just in the background smirking, counting down the days to get out of here. I do, I am concerned at who the next assistant town manager is going to be, that they're going to be inheriting more of the scapegoat role that John Curran seems to be put into. And I think we're in trouble. I think our town is in trouble right now, and I'm concerned, and I hate it. I've said this to you on WCAP. I hate, my least favorite position is the "I told you so" position, because I think that means that I didn't do my job in trying to educate enough people to avoid it in the first place. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be an "I told you so" situation within the next 3 years.
Can't talk to people that don't want to listen anymore.
Exactly. Now you have that going on.
Yeah. What else you got for me?
Well, you also have.
I hope you used to have a lot because I got nothing.
I actually have homework for you later. I'm gonna
the never-ending, MBTA zoning.
Yep. Well, and that's going to be the next thing.
Right.
And Wilmington's in the same position as one of the towns. Yep. They dug our heels in, said no, no, no. And I think we're going to get to the point. The appeals are over. The lawsuits are fruitless. I think it's going to get to the point where we're going to have, as they promised, that special ombudsman come in, or whatever, and make the plan for us. And we're going to have to, whatever. Yeah. How do you say that word? You know what I mean.
I do.
They're going to come in. The state's going to appoint them. They're going to come in and they're going to force the plan at us. And there's, again, nothing that we're going to be able to do because we decided to not be proactive and try to address the concerns head on. We said, screw you, state. And the state's going to say, I'll show you who's in power.
Well, the other issue is that on a lot more grants that the state and the school department, they're putting now writing into these grants.
Okay.
That your town is a member in good standing on the MBTA Communities Act.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why, honestly.
And that's even, I'm talking to people at Little High who tell me that that's in there.
Yep.
And I was thinking of Drake and Tewksbury when I heard that, because it's like, what's going to happen to the communities who are trying to get desperately needed funding,
Yeah.
And now it's being like, we told you.
Right.
And they said after December, they're going to start enforcing it. So they're going to start enforcing that. And then if you don't play nice, then they're going to bring in that person who says, okay, well, now we're going to give you the plan.
A lot of that going around, kid.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And that's
On
why,
every level.
I'm on the finance committee in Tewksbury, and when they presented their budgets last fall, one of the things, or this spring, one of the things that I would be asking them is how many, like they'll reference just kind of casually, well, we didn't need, like, the library, we didn't need that because we got a state grant for it. And it's like, and I've said, can you list out, town of Tewksbury, can you list out how many state grants we're receiving right now for our different departments? Because I think it's more significant than the people that were campaigning using the MBTA communities as their campaign platform were saying it's not a significant amount of money. And I think we're about to find out that that was, again, incorrect information used to win an election.
Now, a piece of good news.
Yeah.
There was and I know you're on the board at Tewksbury State Hospital.
Yes, the article. I was going to bring that up. Thank you, Jerry.
Well, after we bashed it a little bit, let's bring up some good news.
Well, no, and I was going to say, on the other side of that, the hope that the Tewksbury residents should have when they have the fear mongering and they have, that the sky is falling being thrown at their face to the point where they have to believe it because they feel like that's the only information they're given. Tewksbury Hospital, the Chief Columbus just came out with a press release saying basically things are going great. And I have to say, the reason things are going great is because there's now a new collaboration between the hospital staff and the town. And that's what I'm saying probably needs to happen and probably should have happened a year ago for the lithium battery project, is there should have been more collaboration. What I think, and Teddy's not here, so I can say this without fear of him telling me that he's now trying to see which political alliance I have or allegiance I have. I think one of the problems with our current administration is that it has pitched to be, I know there's more, but I'm saying in this vein, for this topic, we have now been told, and we believe that it has been demonstrated, that if you create division, you somehow accomplish more. And I think in reality, that's a falsehood. Because I think what happens is when you create division, you don't get anything done. All you get done is the conflict, right?
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
don't get the resolution. And I think what needs to happen is we need to remember that when you can kind of work in a collaborative manner and you can kind of streamline the information so people are working off of the same correct information and not just relying on Facebook, you actually can start accomplishing things again. And I
Well,
think,
it's like Lincoln and the team arrival.
yeah,
Bring everybody on.
right.
Yeah,
And I
conversation
think,
is key.
right. And I think that's what's lacking
That's
in a
bad.
lot of different arenas. And I think that's what, you know,
many
whether you're Republican or
personalities.
Democrat, I'm not saying, I'm just saying this current president seems to think that division is great. And it creates it creates a scenario where you have to like reevaluate and reassess. But the problem is you reevaluate and reassess, but then you don't implement something better. And I think that's the broken piece of that puzzle. And I think that's what we need to get back to. And that's what I would love to see for Tewksbury. Like I'm listening to Teddy talk about what's going on in Canada right now. And I'm thinking to myself, we're the next town over. So if Lowell is able to accomplish all this great stuff, how come we, the next town over, can't be saying to Lowell, hey, bring us in a little bit. Let us help figure this out. We're next door. You know, we have a hotel if you guys need it for the Golden Gloves. Let's start talking, you know, and things like that.
I'm sure they will. But they also, Tewksbury State Hospital came up because it was my understanding that they just closed a unit out there at Tewksbury State Hospital. One of the units closed in the alcohol rehab unit or something.
So there was a tenant that was one of the rehabs left. It wasn't closed by anyone. I mean, I think what's happening, unfortunately, is as federal funding is shifting,
Yep.
that a lot of, because that's been, and you know, we've had this conversation previously. Tewksbury Hospital proper is not all of the tenants on the property, right? So Tewksbury Hospital is the DPH and DMH components of the main hospital. There are other programs on the hospital's property that are not hospital programs, sober houses and rehabs and things like that. So what's happening with the tenants is some of them are losing their federal funding and they're either closing down completely or they're needing to relocate because of financial reasons. So I don't think, I will say, the reason things are going so well at Tewksbury Hospital with the town right now has nothing to do with what tenants are there or not there. It has everything to do with the fact that we now have a chief and we now have a head of security at Tewksbury Hospital that are willing to work with each other collaboratively. And that's great.
That's awesome.
All right. We're going to get to Lowell in a second.
Read your reads.
That's what I'm going to do. Exactly what I'm going to do. The Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part, by our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. The Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. Our friends at TMI Properties. TMI cares, developing and managing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, care, and value of making TMI the choice for your home. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to generations of families since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Prevention Insurance, Leslie's favorite insurance company. The agency Greater Lowell is counted on since 1982.
That's got
and,
legs.
of course, our buddy Real Estate Ray Budin, licensed in New Hampshire and Massachusetts, also has an appraiser in those states. Yes, I can take the headphones off now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now that Teddy's off
He's
air,
just so used to talking in headphones.
Well, it was a look.
exactly.
It was a look.
I'm so used to doing, talking in headphones that, yeah, I'll get the hang of this.
That's fine.
I'll get the hang of this by Friday.
Listen, you looked great, buddy.
When it's over, but that's okay. All right.
I was getting kind of Mickey Mouse out of it.
Nice. She keeps it real.
Take the radio guy and
Dude.
again, put him in a podcast. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you
Get
changed the
back on.
camera. I didn't know you
Put
did
you
that.
Put you right back on the spot. They mentioned the battery storage company that's
Yes.
having, some questions out there in Tewksbury. But the Mockley Group
Yeah.
is certainly having their battles here.
Well, are they being a good neighbor?
Well, that's interesting because if you notice the last couple of series of articles coming out in the Sun, it talks about the fact that they have bought up some of the neighborhood,
Yes, they have.
which is not unexpected.
Why isn't Billy Martin coming out and saying anything?
Why should
Isn't he the attorney?
He's the attorney,
Yeah.
but again,
Don't get me wrong, I
He-
love the
he-
man.
he-
I'm just curious, why so silent?
he doesn't have to.
Well, I know he doesn't have to.
When they ask about it, but it made a lot of sense to do that because they are going to have to expand and they are going to have, and my son runs one of these places. And so when I was asking him about generators and all that, it's not as big as Markley's. They don't have as many generators, and he's out in an industrial zoned area. So, he's got a highway near him. When he runs generators, he doesn't have neighbors complaining about the noise.
Speaking of highways, why not put a barrier up?
Well,
like a highway barrier
that's,
protects neighborhoods.
I have said the same thing. But, why don't they put up those sound barriers?
Yeah.
And as they buy more of the property, so they'll be able to expand without needing. I mean, Markley is a good company. When they went there, I don't think anyone imagined the data industry booming as much as it has. And it continues to grow. And now we're going to bring in all these other businesses. They're going to need to expand. But the problem is, you're right, Leslie, from what we hear, they have not been good neighbors.
Well, they can't hear. Because the neighbors literally can't hear.
Right.
And that's the problem. And there's a certain distinct odor that comes from it. And there's times when it wafts through and you can't be outside because it's too loud. You can't open your windows, even though you're getting gouged on your gas bill or whatever your electric is. So you're kind of stuck. And you didn't ask for it. They asked for you. You didn't ask for them. And there they are.
Well, when you moved in there, Prince was there.
Yes.
There was a fact. You knew you were moving in to a factory, a neighborhood.
That's
factory.
a great point.
You
That
knew
is a
you
good
were
point.
moving into that.
That's right.
And then
Welcome
it was
to Spaghettiville.
Right, and then it was shut down for a while.
Yeah.
But the city needed somebody, and they found someone willing to come in.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Which is excellent. That's what we want.
That they received a good size tip,
Well, we do that.
which you need sometimes to do to
We
attract
absolutely.
business.
One city manager specifically was tipsy.
But they're still paying a great deal of tax money.
Yes, they are.
And as the years go on, that increases.
Well, the reason I say good neighbor is we're being very good. They're being very good. Now there's an expansion problem when there already are existing issues.
Right. And then the trouble is they have not been. They finally hired somebody to be like a PR
liaison?
person, and it's talking about the horses have escaped. Don't shut the barn door now.
Yeah, they're already out.
That's the problem. They're already out, and they have a lot of makeup to do, but they can do it.
But they've been a great tax revenue for us, which is always what we want. The housing.
Well, okay, so but this is the thing. That's the public hearing. Everyone was arguing: is it people over profit, or how do you balance the two? Like, how do you balance the two? Because that was the rally cry about the battery storage: is it should never be profit before people.
But there is.
How do you balance them?
There is a way.
That's a great point. Because they keep saying it wouldn't happen in Belvedere. It's happening in South Lowell, though.
NIMBY. It's NIMBY without saying it anymore.
You are never going to satisfy
Everybody.
Well, that's true.
everybody.
No.
That's true.
Okay, but they can satisfy. I mean, everyone knew. Not everyone knew. A lot of people understood when Markley moved in there. There were already reports that they had offered people whose
Buyout?
house would and some people at the time said no. They wanted more, and that's what happened over the years.
Yeah.
Some people who have sold out the property they've been able to buy in the last few
It's
years.
gonna be.
It's because the market has gone up.
Yes.
So they've and some people maybe wait, and that's what?
Yeah.
That's good for them.
Where
But-
they're trying to expand, is it a zoning area that's okay for them, or are they
They
trying to
could-
zone into housing?
No, they're taking over. They're taking multifamily housing.
I
so
thought that.
it's already
But
zoned.
is that zoned for business?
It's already zoned, I believe, for business too.
Okay.
Or they can expand that because they own the property. So it wouldn't be a big ask. The problem is they have not been good neighbors. They have not been responsive.
Well, like you say.
I was gonna say, for
the law-
those of us who don't know, what are they doing that makes them not good neighbors? Like, what's
So-
going on?
Well, the same thing at the hospital in Tewksbury. You finally have someone talking to the other
Yeah.
person and it's working. We're not having communication.
Yeah.
So
And I
if-
think it also helps when you have some independent thoughts on boards instead of everyone sharing the same.
They would be
Well said.
doing
Yeah.
construction projects and like putting like a pound of digging out a pound of dirt and just leaving the dirt there uncovered. So on a day like today, if it's not
airborne.
raining, if it's wind, now the whole neighborhood is getting covered in dust. These generators, you have to test. My son tells me you have to test the generators once a week. And so
Does that mean stopping and starting?
you have to run them for like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
5 to 10 minutes to make sure, because if a power goes out, if they lose power, these generators got to kick on immediately.
That's correct. Yeah.
Because otherwise they're going to lose millions of information, and that can't happen.
So this is data storage.
This is all data storage.
Okay,
Mark
okay.
is a big data storage company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so as they get more customers, they need to expand capability, which means they need to have more backups, and they use a ton of electricity. I mean, these departments, but my son started out as an electrician, and he started there as one of the electricians. Now he's grown into one of the managers because he's seen the place, keep expanding. But they have, like I said, they're in an industrial area. This is in the neighborhoods, and that's the big key. This is in a neighborhood, and they've bought up some of the surrounding properties. I'm sure they'll try to buy more. There's got to be a way that they can work together, and Markley needs to do much more in reaching out, showing up, and I'm sure they don't want to. Nobody wants to show up at a meeting where you're going to be targeted.
Yeah.
But you got to show up there. You got to take the notes, and you got to go mea culpa,
Yeah.
But do you say mea culpa if you're not violating any laws? I mean, that's the thing. And that's kind of like the most brilliant part too. Again, from the outside looking in, and not, I understand everyone's concern with the battery storage you need to have the safety plan in place before you can really commit to whether you want it or not, right? That's my position. But the reality is they had an attorney from Hillman, and they had this kid who, I say kid because if he was 18 years old, he looked like my oldest son, 22, was the representative and they got up and he very kindly said his piece. No one booed him, I think, because they were afraid of abusing a child. The attorney got up, and then they never said another word. Because they don't need to. That's where it's like people are so frustrated. How come we're not hearing from the company? Because the company doesn't need to explain itself. But the reality is, when you're the town and you're the city, you need to step in and say, this is the information we need to make our residents comfortable with this plan. This is the work, This is the work that needs to happen for us to get comfortable with this plan. And that's where the breakdown is.
There has been a very active neighborhood group in the Sacred Heart in South Lowell area for a long, long time.
Yes, it's a great neighborhood.
And the big mistake that Markley has made
he didn't reach out to
is
them.
reaching out and putting one of their people at their meetings, listening. You said, they may not be breaking any laws, right, but they're doing things to annoy. And so if there's a way that you can mitigate, something as simple like my son said, you get a top and you cover the sand, and there's easy
but
remedies.
Again, going back to my earlier point, when we have a nation now that's saying sometimes annoying is fine, and why we don't have to apologize anymore, why would businesses think that they have to still do that role?
That's true. Some people find me annoying.
Well, same.
That's why we showed up.
I've embraced my role as the villain.
Oh, for God's sake.
I have some new theme songs.
I would love to hear one.
I was waiting for Pink to be played as I walked in today, but that ship has sailed, evidently.
Apparently, we owe them money if we play it.
There's no music here.
Good. Well,
And Jerry and I love to sing.
oh, God.
Show tunes.
Yeah, exactly. We don't. No one wants to.
You missed it when you were talking with Teddy. She was over here reenacting scenes from Austin Powers.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I did. I did. I try not to.
She was miming go-go dancing. It was
Try not
great.
to let her distract me.
Yeah, well, it's impossible.
I didn't know I was sitting next to a rat bastard.
See, villain.
She
Villain.
stung me.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Thank you. That's better.
The Senate seat here in Lowell.
I know you've been speculating a lot. I've read what you've been writing.
Well, thank you.
You've been speculating a lot.
Somebody reads it. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Eddie for a second. I used to, when he was mayor of the city, he was my favorite mayor. And one meeting specifically was about rights and everybody's voting rights. And the place was packed. And people were up here yelling. And Eddie's trying to monitor this meeting. And everybody's going over at the mic and stuff. And finally, he just said, he looks up because like enough from the, what do you call
Peanut
it?
gallery?
Peanut gallery. I was going to say Cracker Barrel.
Nice.
Peanut
Same
gallery.
difference.
The peanut gallery. And he kept looking up and just breathing heavy and stuff. So every time I'd see him, because he was a hippie to me, he was a Zen dude.
Nice.
I'd do this when I saw him. And every time he'd see me, we'd just laugh. He'd do this.
What is that? Snaps because you agree?
Snaps because you're cool. And
Do you want to know what I learned yesterday from my kids?
this?
This.
Yes, I knew that.
They got so mad that I did it because
Yeah.
I saw them do it a few times. This and 6'7". I'm forever at the meme now that I'm
This
going to be in a
means that
nursing
you're
home.
good. This is good.
Yeah,
This is a good
retweet. It's like
Okay.
retweet,
It's
retweet.
this.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
It's
right.
literally this.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
and that person, I still don't understand 6'7", but anytime 6'7" is used, you're supposed to go like this. for some
Okay, I don't
reason.
know that.
I don't know. There's a bunch of reels about it.
okay.
So,
Okay, 6, 7.
so but some.
I've been
stupid song.
6s and 7s.
Yeah,
Put a 1, that's a zip code.
yeah. 8675309. That's our generation.
There we go. Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, I've speculated on who maybe would.
Well, I saw the war chests.
Yeah, some of
So
them.
I have a pretty good speculation.
The Representative Rodney Elliott and Vanna Howard both have pretty good watch.
They really do.
The big mystery in this is John Drinkwater.
Yes.
I mean, John Drinkwater ran in the initial campaign, first time out, and finished second to Ed.
Is he still in the city?
600 votes. John still lives in
Okay.
Belvedere. He's got a great job with the unions, and he would be a viable, strong candidate. Even starting out with no money, he could raise it. My question is, who comes from the towns?
Gary?
No, okay, I can't see Colleen running. The thing is, Drake, Tingsboro, Dunstable, all much more conservative than the city.
Yes.
So,
But they're all full of Lowellians.
they
Just
are
think
too.
about
They
it.
are all full of
That's
love.
true.
So that's why I think Councillor Eric Gitchia, who I've mentioned a couple times, he hasn't stated one way or another. But here's a guy who finishes great in the general
Well, he
election,
won the last election.
right?
Yeah.
And where he works as a facilities director at the Greater Lowell Technical High School, he has dealt with Dunstable and Drake.
Oh,
and
he has.
He has a
Tewksbury.
connection.
He's got a good, solid foundation. And, he would appeal to the more conservative towns, more conservative communities, more so than I think somebody like Van Howard. So that's going to be an interesting city council races. I said have been pretty quiet. What do you think of my little comment about the challenger up in the Highlands? The guy is being bankrolled by the Socialist Democrats, Boston area branch of Democratic Socialist.
Interesting.
Since he won the preliminary, they have done multiple drops for him, and he's raised almost a little over $4,200 from 71 donations. 61 of those donations from outside the city of Lowell.
Yeah.
If you look at his OCP. So it's very interesting to see. It's going to be very interesting to see how well he does if he can get the younger people out to vote.
Yeah.
Which,
I also think, though, the primary election, 12 people show up? Seriously. And I think the other one lost by like 12. It wasn't a lot.
John lost by 7.
7. It was not a lot.
John
Johnny
finished
Dakota.
second by 7,
Yeah.
and Francisco Maldonado, I think, was like 20 out.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah.
It was. That's how small a turnout it was that night.
Yeah.
We started.
But being a
We started the
midterm,
election.
this will be different.
We started the election coverage at 8:00, and by 10 minutes to 9, we were all done.
Yeah.
We were all done. It was a
Nice.
great short night.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
And
right.
we'll be back here on November 4th. So to do it
I've already voted.
again,
The very secure mail-in way.
There you go.
and everybody loves Miller.
Yeah.
All
I was
right.
gonna say let's store that pot because Teddy's not here.
I was
right?
staring at
We'll,
you, brother.
We're gonna wrap it up. I want to
Okay.
thank you both.
Wait, I have homework.
Okay.
For you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, so Jerry had said
Hang on.
he had
Here we
when
go.
he texted. Now, keeping in mind when I was on WCAP with Jerry, he never gave me a heads up what we were going to talk about.
No,
I walked
same here.
in and it was just whatever Jerry wanted to talk about, we were going to talk about, and I was expected to know what we were going to talk about like that. So he'd be like, "What do you think of this?" And I'd be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." I'd be googling it at the break. So he had said today, Karen Reed, and I'm like, Karen Reed's kind of over because we're in like the civil lawsuits. But my homework for you guys, and we should come back and have this conversation. I will send you links to the SJC's decision. Have either of you heard about Ann Weiss versus Harvard? Have you heard about the controversy around Harvard and how they've been handling the body donations?
Yes. Yeah. And then somebody was actually selling body parts.
Correct.
Right.
So yes. So there was just for the viewers and for you guys, just to give you a little
That's
tidbit.
familiar,
We're not going to
yeah.
we're not going to talk about it today because I think it could be its whole own episode for the Killer Bees. But to me, I'm like, where's Turtle Boy for these things? There was 3 people from Harvard that were in charge of the program to when you decide if you want to donate your body to medical research,
That's
right?
correct.
You donate to Harvard. There's this uniform like anatomical gift act that governs how that is handled. The reason Tewksbury is involved is because if the family decides that they just want the remains buried afterwards, there's a cemetery in Tewksbury for all of those people that have donated their bodies to medical research. What was happening is in recent years, and if you read the decision, it's actually kind of an interesting, usually legal decisions are very dry. This one has a lot of intrigue, and like whoever wrote it was definitely involved, and like he wishes he was a writer. He wishes he wrote fiction. 3 people were sued. There was this indictment. Everything was sealed. They opened the indictment so that people could read what happened. And basically, the 3 people that were somehow in charge of the donations to Harvard were creating a black market sales of these body parts, like to the point where they were having people come in to select the body parts at their facility. And it's going to be a big civil suit. It's not as, there's not police corruption. There's only kind of nerdy Harvard people corruption. But I think it impacts at least 47 people that we know of that have joined it. They originally got the case dismissed. Harvard got the case dismissed, and it wasn't going to go anywhere. And the SJC just ruled that 2 out of the 3 are able to be sued.
Right.
So I think if I think it's something we should care about because I think A, it's local enough, and B, it's against Harvard, which is
I'm
always
in a bad
interesting.
spot right
And
now.
C, it involves something that most of us at some point in our life have thought about, whether it's organ donation or.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like
Everything but the eyes. I want
feel
to
like-
see when I get to
yeah,
hell.
well, I think I'm too old. Like, I feel like there's a certain age where they won't take some of your stuff anymore, and I kind of crossed that threshold in
They'll
my
take
late
your skin.
40s.
Hello.
No, that's the truth. That's what I was
late
like.
40s.
There's a
I
lot
have
of
kids that age.
no, but that's the thing. You can't join the FBI after you're 45, and you can't donate like half of your stuff.
All right. We'll.
But I want to talk about this in the future.
You know what? Starting next week,
Yeah,
I am starting my own podcast, as I mentioned before. It'll be Nutter and the Newsmakers.
there you go. The Killer Bees.
And I'll have the Killer Bees.
Right.
Okay.
We'll bring the
And
heat
you guys
with
can
current
read.
legal
Yeah.
issues that are not Karen Reed.
Yeah.
I'm all over Karen. That's good.
Yeah.
Hope she enjoys that SUV when she
Oh,
gets it
she's
back.
gonna be a great speaker. She's gonna make millions.
All right. Thank you both for joining
My
us.
pleasure,
Thank
Jerry.
you for joining us also today. I will be back tomorrow. Teddy will be joining us for the first 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll be talking with the executive director of the Lowell Housing Authority, along with our pal Bill Samaras, who's also an LHA commissioner. Thank you to our sponsors. Take care. Be good to each other, and take care out there. It's going to be windy and wet today.
Yeah, Killer Bees are out.
Mic drop.